Hi everyone and welcome to the Toon Review. First ever live stream on the channel. I've got with me PD Proudlock, I've got John Sinclair and I've got James from Toon Army TV with us as well. Just talking about tactics, transfers and also everything going on at Newcastle United at the minute. First of all, got to ask you guys what you thought of the match yesterday. We'll start with Pete.
It was still poor. I mean, I would say the defeat wasn't as bad as what I have seen a lot of the season. For example, the games like against Southampton, Brighton, games like them where I've just been completely rolled over completely.
Fair enough. Still poor.
Hi lads. Gonna have to agree. I just thought it was poor yesterday. I thought midfield was overrun. Yeah, and basically, we just simply wasn't good enough. We could see two poor goals, and that effort on Wednesday against Liverpool was fantastic. But on Sunday, I just didn't see that at all whatsoever, and it's just a worry for us, lads, you know.
Mm-hmm. James, what did you think?
An unpopular call here, but I think I've seen Newcastle play a lot worse against Leicester in the past, and yesterday wasn't as bad as what a lot of our fan base were proclaiming. I think, yes, it was always going to be a tough ask, you know, to beat Leicester. I went for a 2-1 just after what happened against Liverpool, trying to keep the positive vibe. Yes, Leicester were good, and we expected that. They're up there for a reason, you know, the top three. They played some very good football, and it was trying to contain the likes of Jamie Vardy and Maddison. And we did that, you know, for the first half, but then second half, it was whether Leicester would get out and play, and they did, and they scored two very good goals. However, they were preventable, in my opinion. We should have got closer. It was individual mistakes. Yeah. There was a bit of hope there towards the end with Carroll when he got it back to 2-1. And to be fair, we could have nicked it. We could have got a 2-2. You know, with Carroll and Callum Wilson coming close, you know, Kasper Schmeichel had to pull off some very good saves towards the end. But if you look at the three fixtures, Man City, Liverpool and Leicester, we've only conceded 4 goals and we've only scored 1. Okay, we've only scored 1. That's not good. But we've only conceded 4 goals. Given the fact, if you go into those 3 fixtures, a lot of the fans were saying we're going to concede 10, 15, 20 goals here. So it's not been all that bad, but yes, could have been better. I do agree with that.
Yeah. I was jumping out my seat when Chelsea put that ball across the well, it was practically across the goal line and nobody got in to finish it off. I could have screamed. That was for me the big chance. It's Arsenal in the cup next. Will he play a weekend side, do you reckon, Pete?
I hope not. I think he will go quite strong. I know Bruce has been going strong in the past FA Cup games, particularly last season. I think he will go quite strong. But it's the manner how we go into the game. That is the most concerning. I mean, is it just going to be a negative attitude once again? Or are we going to finally have a positive attitude and possibly go on a bit of a cup run again?
Do you guys think that Steve Bruce has a problem motivating the players, or have the players just lost trust in him?
Bit of both.
Sorry.
Go on, John.
No, go on. No, I was going to say that you asked that question. For me, he's lost the dressing room months ago, and he just don't want to play for him. If you look at the games, right, it's being played, like say the Brentford game and other games. If they really want to try, or the Fulham game as well, if they really want to try for him, they would have done it for him. But if you look at the last the games against Fulham, the last half an hour, and he scored a penalty. They just don't want to play for him, sort of thing, you know. It's just not good enough, and for 5 minutes, I thought, well, they're not doing it for him. They just don't want to know, and he should be sacked sooner rather than later for me.
Yeah, just Geordie putting up there. Can't see Bruce going with a weak side. I think he's under massive pressure. I think for me, the big game for us is Sheffield United. I think that's Bruce's. Well, I'm hoping it's Bruce's do or die, because I think if we don't convincingly beat Sheffield United the way they've played this season, then he needs to go. Even if we won 2-1 or 1-0, that's not good enough. James?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the Arsenal game, is it a write-off? Well, you'd say so, because we're playing, you know, the holders in Arsenal who won it last year, and they played quite well towards the end of the season, didn't they? So obviously they hit form at the right time. Now, Arsenal, funny enough, they've turned a corner, and that would just be the Toons' luck. All these clubs that were starting to play are turned a corner, bar Sheffield United. In terms of the side, I could see a mixed bunch on Saturday, if I'm honest. We all know that we're not favourites. Arsenal know they're favourites. The pressure's with them. And he's not going to be judged on that game, unfortunately. But in terms of Sheffield United, yeah, you're totally spot on. Do you know what it is, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we do a Derby County from about 12 years ago and we get beat and give Sheffield United their first win. I honestly wouldn't, on current form, I wouldn't be surprised. Even though they can't win, for love nor money, it wouldn't at all surprise us. And for me, as you mentioned, it could be Stu Bruce's do or die game. I think if he loses to Sheffield United, his job for me is untenable. I've said it for a month now. I think he's done.
I think, like you said, it's a case of deja vu for me against Derby and now against Sheffield United.
It's going to happen.
It's frightening, and it'll be embarrassing for us if that team beats Newcastle. For me, it's a massive embarrassment. It just shouldn't happen. But will we have any new signings in by then? That's the question. Pete, if you had an option to go for anybody at the minute, who would it be?
I would love to have Willems back. I thought he was exceptional last season. The way he can bomb forward and the way he can whip a ball in the box as well. I would say take this lad back within an instant.
Yeah. Would you think of a creative midfielder maybe? Or do you think we've already got one there, or is he not performing? Are you John Joe?
We haven't got no one who's creating the midfield at all whatsoever. I mean, sure, he's done for me. He's done. Sean Longstaff, he's gone backwards for me as well. I mean, where's that player that was trained well under Rafa Benitez? And the same player under Steve Bruce, it just hasn't really done it. So I think he needs to take out the firing line for the minute. But we definitely need two midfielders there, like one of the legs. I want to actually create. But who's out there though? But also, if you're going to sign someone, it's got to be someone who's been playing regularly, not players that's just come from an injury. Like Bentaleb, for example, already came to us. He only came to us for pre-season training. Really used us pre-season training, and then he buggered off to Schalke, excuse me French, to Schalke. And Danny Rose, again, didn't really come to Newcastle. He came about 2 stone overweight. He made us take a sumo, to be honest with you.
I don't think Danny Rose's heart was ever in it.
No.
Jason's just saying there, Hamza Chowdhury from Leicester. I've seen him a few times. I'm not convinced. I think he lacks a lot of discipline, Chowdhury. Would he improve the team though, James?
Oh, it's a difficult one because I haven't seen enough of him. I know fans are not happy with the tackle that he put on Matt Ritchie in the Carabao Cup last season, and rightly so because it was a horrible challenge. Would he improve the side? I think anyone would improve our side at this moment in time.
Hell yeah.
My main concerns are actually the strikers.
Aye.
I just don't. I think we're too. And I'll be honest here. I think we're too over reliant on Callum Wilson. And if he's not in the side, where the goals coming from? Because for me, and this might be unpopular, but I think Gill is very championship. He's not for me good enough for the Premier League.
I agree with you there. I've said that all along.
Yeah. Carroll's finished for me. I think Carroll's also done. Not for the Premier League. And who else we got? Joe Linton. Again, he's not even a striker. He's more of a winger. You put him like a 4-3-3, like a left wing position. You could do your job there. But for me, if Callum Wilson gets that injury, like who else can we rely on? I mean, ASM, we're massively missing him at this moment in time.
Yeah,
I just think Steve Bruce isn't the right guy for the squad we have.
Something doesn't ring right with me about ASM either. I just think it's just a little bit strange.
Doesn't want to be here?
Nah, I just saw that fallout he had before the Southampton game. And then he hasn't been seen since. Now, I know they've said he's had COVID and that, but this was before the COVID strike, before it hit the training ground and all that. This had happened with ASM and he wasn't around. And rumour has it that he was sent home and he's never been seen again. It just, something stinks with me.
A move's going to happen in the summer, I can see it.
Yeah. What do you think, Pete?
I wouldn't be surprised. Sorry.
It's possible looking that way at the moment. You could probably tell that there could be some fallout he's definitely had by the sound of it, even though he said he hasn't.
Yeah.
But I think there's something in the pipeline there.
Something just doesn't stick right with me. But there's Geordie saying Divock Origi. Would he's better than Gale, I think. He might do a job. John?
Definitely. I mean, what you got to talk about here, he's a Champions League winner as well. He's got strength, he's got pace. He hasn't played a lot of games, but when he does, he's been very impressive with his strength and skill. But he does score goals, and I wouldn't have any problems taking him on loan to end the season. In fact, if he had the money, I would have signed him up because he's proven and he's done it at Liverpool. And I would take him on. I take him on any time.
Yeah, I think James, we're going to be looking at loans, not buying them as well with the situation with Ashley and is it a court case coming up? Hopefully so. But I think it's loan deals. So if we can get Willems on a free and Origi on a loan, would that be two good purchases?
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I think we're just going to get loans in terms of, obviously, Ashley wants to sell a club. He's not going to take a risk and start, buying players on big contracts. It'll be difficult to try and move them on for whoever takes over the club. Hopefully it's the Saudis, if not someone else. Willems will know that he's a creative type player. He likes to get forward, doesn't he? He proved that with a goal against Liverpool. Also for the goal in which he set up for Matty Longstaff. So we'll know what he's about. Divock Origi, John, I do agree with. I think he's a very good player who he knows where the back of the net is. He's clinical. He's got a bit of pace, which we lack. He could work well alongside Callum Wilson. A player who was also mentioned to be linked with a club from Scotland was Sam Cosgrove. I'm actually a big fan of his. Not you, a lot of you guys will watch the SPL, but he knows where the net is. And young lad as well. Back up.
I don't know a lot about this, Sam. I don't know a lot about this guy at all. I'm afraid. I'm sorry, but
yeah.
I think he might be a good option because he'd be young and he'd be hungry. I think that's what we have to look for. It's pointless us bringing journeymen in on loan who are finished and don't give a crap. I mean, it came on Twitter yesterday about Shaqiri from Liverpool. For me, I'm not sure because he's not the type of player we need at the minute. When you think of the players we need hungry players. If he comes in on loan, I can't see him being too bothered.
No, for me, he's a bit of a journeyman as well. Just sits on the bench, doesn't he, a lot?
Yeah, exactly.
The thing is, look. What the thing is, he was in that Stoke City side as well, where they underachieved as well, and you just got to look at his CV.
Exactly, and for me, every time I see him play, if he does something good in the first 5 minutes of being on the pitch, he'll perform. But then, if he doesn't, or something goes against him, he disappears, and that's not the kind of player we need.
Can I mention about Ryan Fraser as well? I mean, he was brought in to add a bit of quality, to add a bit of help into the side. But he's turned into a bit of a sick note.
Exactly. I mean, he's picking up injuries, but I wonder what's going on the training ground. Pete, I don't know if you get frustrated with this as well, but the stuff that goes on the training ground, how many injuries we hear keep propping up.
Yeah, I mean, you just wonder and think of what is going on in training. I mean, I think we've had a massive list of injuries since Steve Bruce has been manager of this football club.
Yeah.
I mean, ASM's picked up far too many. Ryan Fraser's picking up far too many. I think a lot of our defenders were picking up a lot of injuries as well. And it's just, you just wonder, what are they doing in training for this to continuously happen?
It's crazy for me. John, do you think the COVID is an excuse for some of the players being injured, or do you think that they genuinely are out with that reason?
I need to look at that ASM situation again. Is that he really got COVID, as he really got it. But if they said he got COVID, then I suppose you're going to have to believe them. Do you know what I mean? But it's 50-50 for me. I think it's a lot of excuse. It's a bit. The more I think about it now, the more I think it's a bit of an excuse. I really do, and I don't really want to say that, but it's coming that way now. But I'll worry about ASM in a minute. Has he really got it, or he hasn't, or was there?
I think he's the big worry because of what he's been putting on Instagram, and I think that's been highlighted by a lot of Newcastle fans, is that he's put a lot of stuff on Instagram, and he doesn't look unwell. But my brother's had COVID; he's recovered from it, but you wouldn't know looking at him that he had it. When he was. It's one of them strange situations. I just think there's something deeper with ASM happened before COVID. But hey ho. Jordy made a good point just before there about Chong from Man United. I've seen him a few times, James.
Yes, I've watched him myself when I watched the Newcastle United reserves. I think Peter can speak for that as well. Tadif Chong, a very good player there for Man United. Got a lot. He's got a bright future. I think he's out on loan in Germany, I believe, at this moment in time. I could be wrong. But the lad has a lot of promise. I mean, he scored a few in the Premier League, so he knows where the back of the net is. You mentioned about hungry young players who want a chance. Why not? Plus, Steve Bruce, obviously we don't want Steve Bruce, but he's got that connection with Manchester United, so it might sort of go in our favour to get him on loan.
Yeah. It just seems, I think everybody's wanting Bruce out, but I think we have to accept that. I know we spoke about the Sheffield United game could be do or die for him, but the situation that Ashley's in at the minute. I mean, we all screaming for Bruce out, but my thoughts are that he's just going to be content with Bruce as long as there's no immediate threat of relegation. but we've had this before with McLaren, and he waited too long to pull the trigger, and we went down. If that happens, Pete, we're screwed.
Yeah. For me, I just don't think he's learned at all. I mean, he would have thought he'd have learned from Steve McLaren, and he's going to do the same for the game with Bruce. He's going to sack him too late. He just never learns. I mean, if you're going to do something now, do it now and get someone else in. They've got a best chance of staying up. It's no good replaying the same manager, right? We're in the bottom three, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be a little too late. And he's never seemed to learn. So frustrating.
The thing for me is there's a lot of money at stake here for Ashley this time. You know, if this court case goes ahead, then it's all about money for Ashley. And if he goes into the division below, Newcastle United are not worth the 300 million that he's going to get. And that's why I find it amazing that he's kind of playing Russian roulette with Steve Bruce, because we're 8 points in front of Fulham. That's nothing the way the Premier League's going at the minute. No. What do you think, Pete?
No, I mean, like, all it could take is for Fulham just to pick a couple of victories and we could get absolutely sucked right in there massively. But I think if Ashley just still wants this to get this club sold, if we're still in the Premier League, I was looking to be changing it soon massively to get a new manager in, because Steve Bruce, he's definitely not the man to take this forward. You just look at his stats in the Premier League, and you've said it before, they're absolutely abysmal.
Yeah. I know we're going on about mainly transfers in this one, but I suppose a manager change is a kind of transfer. So, James, if Bruce was to be sacked after Sheffield United, given what's available at the minute, who would you have in?
What, in terms of a manager?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a difficult one. I mean, Joey Barton's just lost his job at Fleetwood, hasn't he?
Well, I put that on Twitter before and I got laughed at.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, he's proved everyone wrong. It's his first job at Fleetwood, and to be honest, he did a decent job. There's not many managers out there, is there, that could really do, well, what's it any better? It depends on the expectation. I mean, these so-called big names are not going to work under Mike Ashley. Give him what Rafa happened. You know, I mean, come on, Rafa Benitez. You know, you wanted to grow the football club. You know, we got a 10th place finish, a 13th place finish. We finished on more points, finishing 13th than we did on 10th. And he just said to the board, right, okay, can we go one better? Can we potentially get top 10 or top 7? And, you know, 7th is there for the taking. You know, you've had Burnley, Everton, Wolves all finishing there for Europa League. Why can't Newcastle, you know, challenge for top 7? It's there. But Mike Ashley said, no, we've got the cheap option. And with Steve Bruce, I mean, it is what it is. And I said it to Peter in the group chat earlier on. Mike Ashley will keep Steve Bruce as long as we finish above 17th place, because he knows, like as you mentioned, Paul, that there's money there to be made. And that is the expectation. The remit, as you like to call it these days, is to stay in the Premier League. So, yeah.
It's ridiculous for me, because if we get to end of January, end of February, and we are still just 6 to 8 points clear, which I don't think we're going to be, by the way. I think we'll be sucked in by then.
Same.
Because the way the Premier League's going at the minute, bottom teams are beating top teams, vice versa, apart from Newcastle United. We're the only team that's not picking out these surprise results or picking any points up. Yes, we picked one up against Liverpool. Exactly. And until the Carroll scored, we hadn't scored in bloody 5 or 6 games, was it?
It's embarrassing. Honestly, it's embarrassing.
I mean, we're getting a few comments for Max Aarons from, I think he's from Norwich, isn't he? Is he still there? Would he come, do you think?
Yeah, he's still there.
Max Aarons, that's a tough one. I mean, Norwich are on the verge of bouncing back to the Premier League. He might just want to stay there and, you know, move on with his career. I mean, if you look at how Lewis is doing at this moment in time, he's just not quite right, is he? He might not want to take that risk at this moment in time. Obviously, with the whole pandemic as well, it might be difficult for players to move around. And Norwich, I don't think they'll want to do a loan. I think they'll want money as well. So Mike Ashley won't pay it. As much as I'd love to see it, it's something you might have to look at in the summer to see where we're at.
Yeah, good point. Kobe's just put one on there, lads. You can see it on the screen there. Your thoughts on the letter today from beIN Sports? Has anybody seen that?
I haven't read it.
No, I haven't actually.
Kobe, put a comment down for us, will you, what the letter was about? Because none of us have seen it. So if you can just put a comment on the screen there, and we'll have a look at that. Which other club would have appointed Bruce as manager, says Geordie?
Well,
to
be honest with you, I think he's done. I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, the guy will never get a Premier League manager again, ever. He won't. This is his final one, and he hasn't made the best of it. So, he's going to take him on.
I reckon. I reckon Sheffield Wednesday. If we weren't so desperate for him, he would have stayed at Sheffield Wednesday. There might have been a situation where he takes them up because for me, Bruce is a Championship manager, not a Premier League one. We all know that. But Watford would have been his destination actually had he not been in a job, because they would have looked at someone like Bruce thinking, do you know what? We're looking to get back in the Premier League. These foreign imports aren't working, so we'll bring in Steve Bruce. You know, maybe a bit of experience, but man, the quicker we get him out of the club, the better. Because it's honestly, the football at this moment in time is so depressing and tiresome to watch. Predictable and boring. There you go.
Yeah, it is, and the fact that the pundits keep saying that he's doing a good job.
He's not doing a good job. Honestly, he's not.
I'm starting to notice that a couple more pundits are coming out with the fact that he's not doing a good job now.
Finally,
and
he said this.
Yeah, I disagree with most of the things Graham Souness says, right? But he said at half-time yesterday about the style of play and how bad we must feel as Newcastle United fans watching this week in, week out. It's starting to slowly creep into them that they actually look stupid on screen, on television, saying how good a job Steve Bruce is doing.
Well,
yet,
Paul,
when Newcastle are live, they're absolutely abysmal to watch.
Well, what did Roy Keane say yesterday after the game? How did he describe the game? Boring. And it wasn't down to Leicester. It was down to how we played.
But that's the same. Any team can come up against Newcastle United at the minute, and it's going to be a boring game to watch. Honestly, the viewing figures must be terrible for whichever TV company puts Newcastle on. Lately,
why do we get so much airtime? No, the football's crap. I mean, you could give it to a club down in the Championship that played better football.
James, they want to see us get beat every week. That's all it is.
That's why we're on the BBC One. That's why we're on BBC One against Arsenal. So the whole world now can see how really bad we're playing. They can see there's the point. The point will be proven on Saturday. Trust us.
You're right.
Free TV. Pete, if you had the perfect manager to come in, who would you choose?
See, I wouldn't mind someone like Eddie Howe, a very young manager. I think he could do a job. But I heard someone in the comments said that Bilic was in there. I think it was by Geordie. Bilic, I would give a chance as well.
Yeah. I think Bilic was very, very harshly done by West Brom.
I thought that was disgraceful what West Brom did, and replacing him with a manager who's tactically outdated.
Yeah, well, he's a bit similar to Bruce, isn't he? He's outdated. He's dinosaur.
I think this time, Allardyce's luck will now run out with West Brom. It's going to run out. It's the point.
See, Jason's just put there Thomas Tuchel. He was just sacked by PSG.
He'll go to Chelsea.
A good manager. He will not work under Mike Ashley.
No, Chelsea. He'll be asking for hefty amounts of money to spend.
If a takeover was to go through, he's the kind of manager that I would probably look at getting. You know, I know everybody's like bigging up Rafa and things like that, but I'm one of the people that says move on from Rafa. He's done his time. If he did come back, don't get us wrong, I wouldn't be annoyed. I wouldn't be upset. But I just think we should be looking to a proven, hungry manager, a bit younger, like Tuchel, for instance, he's been there and done it, and it's a project for him to build on if we got a takeover. James? I could see him go to Chelsea personally, because if Frank Lampard's been rumored to be sacked, then there's money there for Chelsea. He's worked at the bigger clubs, hasn't he, like PSG, Borussia Dortmund. So Chelsea will be sort of on that wavelength. Exactly. Jason's just put there, here's a stat for you. NUFC have lost every game in 2021 so far. Yeah.
Not entirely shocked, though.
No. When's the first win coming? That's the question, because, I mean, I'm begging it to be. I'd love to see us put a performance on against Arsenal and turn them over, because I think Arsenal are beatable by most teams, apart from us.
They won the last three games. They won the last 3 games.
They have. They've started to hit a bit of form, John. But if you were Steve Bruce going into that game, how would you set up against Arsenal the way they're currently playing?
Well, for me, I would love to see a 4-2-3-1 or even a 4-4-2. But the thing is, though, right? I mean, because it's Arsenal, it's going to go on and playing a boring 5-4-1 again. They were not surprised. This manager, not my manager, this manager plays a 5-4-1 again, because they think Arsenal's a big team. If they play Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Pepe, all those players, like, he's going to be scared of them, like, you know. But why do you just change it and play a 4-2-3-1? We might not get through the next round, but at least we're trying. He's got to change it up, switch it up, and he hasn't done it enough.
Yeah, I totally agree. Joseph's just put there, what on earth has happened to Almiron's motivation as well? It's so sad to see. Peter, what do you think of Almiron at the minute? He's just not playing with a smile on his face, is he?
He's not. I personally said this in my last video. Why is he getting played as a wide player? He's not a winger.
Yeah.
He's an attacker number 10, and that is his best position, is to bomb forward in the middle and look to score goals. As a winger, he just looks low on confidence, and you can tell that. And I feel sorry for him getting played there because he should not be playing there.
Thing is, before the lockdown, when we look at the FA Cup match against West Brom that he scored a couple of goals in, he played as a number 10 and he had a kind of free role. And look how well he combined with ASM. They just linked up perfectly, and then it just disappeared. I don't get it.
Yeah, well, Brucey, what you doing? What are you doing, pal?
Yeah,
that's the way you're asking.
When was the last time any one of us saw Miggy have a smile on his face?
Rafa Benitez.
Yeah.
Rafa.
But the thing is, he's now not looking happy, and it's affecting his football. And so many Newcastle fans are coming out and on social media saying that he's not very good. He's not a decent player. I totally disagree. If you look at how he played for Atlanta, was it Atlanta in America? Yes, and then and then Paraguay. He looks a different player to what he does when he plays in a black and white shirt. What do you think it is, James?
I think it's just a lack of confidence, but it's not just that. It's the lack of confidence from the manager into the side. I think we're not playing the right formation for him. Obviously, as mentioned, he's getting played out wide. He's more of a number 10. But not also to mention that his agents opened his gob as well about not being happy. So maybe he's got a move for him in the summer. Because there's no way, that he's going to want to stay here on current form and the way that the team's performing. Everyone's against the manager. Bruce knows he's on borrowed time. We know that. Maybe he can get a move elsewhere for a manager that believes in him, that believes in how he plays his football. As you mentioned, he is a good footballer. But are we going to get the very best out of Almiron the way things are going? I don't think we can, unfortunately.
Here's my problem, right? You look at players like Almiron, Fraser, Callum Wilson, Joe Linton to an extent, Murphy. These forward players, right? They're getting asked to do jobs that they're not used to doing, that they haven't been used to doing in their careers. They've been asked to sit back and defend for 90% of a football game. Miggy's not a defender. Wilson's not a defender. Fraser's not a defender. These guys are creative players. And, Callum Wilson, I feel so sorry for him because look at the way he brings the ball down and holds it up. He's so aggressive. He's a beast up front. But what are we doing to provide him with anything? Winning the odd penalty so he can keep his goal record going. It's so sad to see. John, what do you think?
I have to agree with you there, mate. The fact of the matter is, Steve Bruce is playing the system and the players just don't like it at all whatsoever. But the thing is, by the time you just mentioned there, they have to defend as well. By the time they defend, when they go forward, they all look flipping knackered. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sorry, but Bruce is killing their careers, killing their confidence as well. And they must be thinking, why have I joined this club to play with this guy? Do you know what I mean? But listen, this guy's got to go. We need a manager that's going to come in and bring the best out of those players. We've got attacking players there. They are great players. But they got no confidence with the manager. And that's the problem.
Well, it's clear that something's not right, and I think he's starting to fall out with quite a few of the senior players. Lascelles is back in training now, but has he had a falling out with him, or is it genuinely a long-term COVID thing? You just never know what's going on behind closed doors. And then Kobe's just answered there, saying about saying that they influenced the decision for the Newcastle takeover, so that'll go great for Ashley's court case. I think, judging by the whispers going around, that this court case is going to go in favour of Newcastle. I can't see any reason why it shouldn't because of all the devious goings on at the Premier League, but I guess only time will tell with that. A lot of people are giving a shout out to Bilic to come in as manager. Did he fail at West Ham, James?
Did he fail? I don't think he did, really. I just think West Ham pulled the trigger too early. I think he did a good job at West Ham. I think he steadied the ship. He's proven that at West Brom, in the Championship, they stuck with him and he got them promoted to the Premier League. I just think West Brom, very like West Ham, have panicked. And if anything, they've brought in someone worse. They've pretty much done what we've done with Rafa. We've gone from Rafa to Bruce. They've gone from Bilic to Sam Allardyce. And yes, I can see why they've gone for Sam Allardyce for keeping teams in the Premier League, but I think this could be his hardest job. I don't think he'll keep West Brom up. But in terms of Bilic, I think he will be back in football soon. Would I take him? I'm a bit 50-50 with it, if I'm being brutally honest. I still think there's other managers out there that we can give a chance to. Do you know what? I was actually a big fan of Sean Dyche as well. I think he's very underrated in this Premier League. And people criticise his football. However, you look at the side that Burnley have got and you look at the money that's being spent. For him, have kept Burnley in the Premier League for as long as he has done. And now with this takeover, are they going to keep a hold of him? I don't know. But I still think he's one of those managers that could easily get a top 10 job for me.
He hasn't had a penny to spend this summer, you know. And Burnley are starting to just click into gear a little bit. He's got them playing a bit better now. He's had a lot of injuries. And the fact is, those injuries have crippled the squad because he wasn't supported in the summer. And
Paul, they're fighting for him. Unlike Bruce, they're fighting for him. They're giving absolutely everything on that pitch.
You can see it. And that's what really pees me off about our players sometimes. You look at the way other teams work to get the ball back, and you can tell that they're working for the manager. Now, for me, if they've had a falling out with Bruce or he's lost the dressing room, fair enough. But the players should still be playing for the fans and that shirt. Whether they agree with Bruce or not, it's time for the senior players to come out and say, right, enough's enough of this crap. Let's go and try and win a game of football. Pete, what do you reckon?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, just going back to the past where we've had some players that have just been bothered, not just playing for themselves, but have been bothered just about getting so many thousands of pounds a week, which happened with the likes of Musa Sissoko and other players like them. The season where we got relegated, and their players were just happy to be off the ship as soon as we went down. But yeah, the players just need to start realising that we've got a very good fan base, massive fan base, and you look at it, it says, come out and say, hold on, we should be doing this for the fans, and we're not.
Yeah, good point there by Stu. Bruce thinks of Almiron and Wilson as defenders. I think he thinks as the full 11 players on that pitch as defenders. And that's what really annoys me, because you're asking them to do jobs, like I've said, that they're not there to do. What do you reckon, John?
Well, it's a hard one, really, but yeah, he's just not doing, I'm afraid. All I could say is sort of thing. I hope the players sort of just play their own game. I say, just play their own game and don't play for Bruce. Just play for the badge and the fans. If that's the question he's asking about.
Yeah. James, do you think that the senior players should actually go above the manager's head when they're on the pitch?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, they're on Premier League wages. They're playing for, in my opinion, a big club. A club that for me is massively underachieving. That should be, battling for that top 7. No questions asked. I just think when you're hearing your manager coming out and saying things like, oh, well, the remit is just to stay in the Premier League as long as we finish 12th, then that's it. They're not going to be bothered because they know they're going to win enough games to get, mid-table. But then if things start to fall, then obviously the panic will be on the squad and the manager. It's a real shame. And I do agree there should be. At the end of the day, if I'm a footballer, right, I want to give 110% for any club that I play for. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You, in your career, you want to win things. You want to play in the best competitions like Europa League, like Champions League. Right now, we're so far off it.
I think Callum Wilson must have been sold a different story when he signed, because how we've managed to convince him to sign.
Paul without his goals, mate, we're in the bottom 3. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Not just the scores, it's on the dollar as well. We've been knackered.
We don't do enough in the final third.
We go backwards all the time, and I mentioned Longstaff yesterday. I think Sean Longstaff, he passes the ball backwards, he goes sideways. I don't know what's happened to him. I mean, he was so bright. I mean, I said something about the Bournemouth video in my review yesterday, where he played in the number 10 role. I don't know if you can remember. And he scored a cracking goal at Bournemouth last season. And then obviously he got injured in the match. He had to go off. But he just looked a different player. This season, he seems to get the ball and he just panics. He just thinks, right, I need to go backwards or I need to go sideways. He's not convincing himself that he can pass the ball forward and and actually find Wilson or find Almiron or whoever's making a run. He just panics. Peter?
Yeah, I totally agree. He's just not been the same player. I wonder if it's that injuries picked up in the last season under Rafa that's made him go a little bit backwards. But I think somewhere like a number 10 would definitely really suit him. But as a centre midfielder, somebody's now just not clicking with him. And I mentioned also yesterday, it's always been backwards or sideways with his passing as well. and he just looks totally lost completely.
James, do you think Matty's actually overtook Sean now for a first-team place?
I prefer Matty over Sean. I think he's a better footballer. He brings a lot of energy into the midfield. He likes to get around the pitch. He likes to get forward. He'll also do the dirty work. He'll put some tackles and put his body on the line. Sean, for me, and I don't want to be disrespectful towards the guy because I've spoke to him personally. I think he's a nice lad. However, I just don't think he's a Premier League footballer right now. I think he's more suited in the Championship. He needs a bit more experience. When Rafa gave him that experience in the Premier League, I think it may have been a bit too early for him. But Matty just seems to just take the Premier League to duck to water. I think he's good. Sean, for me, I just don't know how he got on the side yesterday. I was a bit surprised at that. But I think Matty's the better player in my opinion.
See, I used to play ice hockey with the Longstaff's dad, David, for years and years. So I feel guilty almost criticising his kids, you know what I mean? But this is Premier League football. This is completely different. And this is what they have to expect. If they don't perform, they will get criticised. I think Matty was shit on from the highest height when he signed his new contract, by the way. And he just got thrown in against Man City. And I think he really just stuck his finger up to Steve Bruce and said, right, you're going to leave me out in the cold. I'm going to be one of the best players on the pitch for our team. And he was, you know, and I think him and Hayden performed brilliantly in the middle. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, lads. Matty Longstaff, he's definitely overtaken Sean. Let's be real about it now. But I agree with Sharky as well. He works hard. I mean, he's got energy about him. He can tackle, he can pass. And you know what? I'll play him in every week because this guy is destined to be good, really good. And then alongside Hayden, right? The only concern is if he plays in the midfield, where's the creativity he's going to come from? I mean, I'm here on maybes, but we definitely need another midfielder, but we definitely need creativity. But apart from that, back to Matty, I think he's fantastic. He's been the best player.
See, I think if we went forward at the back, we could then afford to play Hayden and Matty and then a forward line. I think we could do that, depending on the opposition, obviously, but at least we'd still offer something going forward if Steve Bruce takes the shackles off. But Jason's made a good point there, saying, do you think Dubravka should play in the FA Cup against Arsenal to give Darlow a rest? Personally, I do. What do you think, Pete?
Yes, I think give Dubravka a chance. He's going to need minutes and he's going to need to build his confidence back up after being out for a canny bit of time. So I think Dubravka, I would throw him in against Arsenal.
James, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm of the same lines. Obviously, this season he's turned into a bit of the cup keeper now, isn't he? Number one keeper, but now a cup goalkeeper. Yeah, I think Darlow needs a bit of a rest now and then put him back in against Sheffield United. Yeah.
John, would you leave Darlow out?
Yeah, 100% there. I mean, he deserves a rest because he's had a fantastic season. So I think a week of rest would do him good, give him a bit of blessing as well. I'll bring Martin back in, and he needs, I agree with Paul, he needs some minutes, and we see what he does. But he's still a quality keeper either way. We've got some quality keepers here. So, yeah, get him in.
Paul, can I just mention something about Dubravka as well?
Yeah.
I would play Darlow for the rest of the season, of course I would. My only concern, if Newcastle manage to do the unthinkable and he pulls off loads of ridiculous saves against Arsenal but get through, could he be in contention for Sheffield United? Do you know what I mean? Darlow, for them, it's Bruce, isn't it?
Yeah, to be fair, that's what I was going to say. That's exactly something that Steve Bruce would do. Just to stay on Dubravka's good side, he'd just kick Darlow out. He's that kind. I think he's that kind of man. You know, people go on about, oh, he's a lovely person. You look at all the snide little digs he's had at the fans this season. That's not a nice personality.
I can't stand the bloke. I can't wait till he walks.
No, I don't like him at all.
Can't stand him.
Can I just call on that as well, lads, as well?
Yeah.
He just said there, and no one can't stand. I can't stand him a lot. He's the worst manager I've ever had. But can you imagine that the fans were allowed back in the stadium, right? And he doesn't perform. I tell you what, the fans were absolutely rifling, man.
You would get Perez. You get Perez.
Yeah, of course you would. I think if the fans are in the stadium now, right, Bruce wouldn't be our manager now.
No chance.
Not a chance in hell. That pitch would be toxic.
No chance, no.
Right, Pete, do you think we should go 5 or 4 at the back against Arsenal?
4 at the back? I mean, yes, Arsenal have picked a bit of form, but you still see a bit of weakness in their side. I think their defenders have been shoddy for a very long time. I mean, if Arsenal do call in the likes of Mustafi, who is awful, then you look at it and you can think, there's an opportunity to go for it. I just hate this 5 at the back. It's far too negative. It barely works. And that formation should have been thrown out the window completely.
Yeah. I mean, we've got nothing to lose in the cup, really, have we, against Arsenal? We've got a real chance to go for it and actually try and go on the front foot. Try and play a bit of football. If we lose 2-3-0, if I see a team who's given it the role to try and score goals, I'll not be arsed. You know what I mean? That's all we as fans want, isn't it? Just to watch a team that actually goes out to try and win a game of football rather than sit there and take it up the backside for 90 minutes.
Well, Steve Bruce has sort of drained the life out of me, really. I'm of the same thinking, like, as long as a team try, then that's fine. Like, but don't demand a team that wins, but demand a team that tries. And I just think I'm not really sort of bothered about this game. I'm more bothered about the Sheffield United one, as long as we can get a win in that one and maybe pull away from Fulham. But honestly, it's been a long, draining season. It's the same old like football, and it's like there's nothing to look forward to. At least under Rafa, yes, it might have been defensive, but at least it was organised. Everything was structured. Players wanted to play for him. But now it's just a case of, well, we'll hope, we'll try and win. We'll try.
Yeah, with Rafa, it was like you knew you had a chance of sneaking something, even if we did go defensive. But under Bruce, we just don't. Pete, the question is on the screen. Do you think the Man United rumour got to Sean Longstaff and that's affected his form?
That's another possibility as well. Thinking that he was going to be the next big thing, but no, he's come absolutely backwards. And Man United sounds like they've dodged a bullet there at the moment.
Well, he's been bruised.
Yeah,
he's been bruised.
Yeah, he's been bruised as well.
A few of them been bruised. Right.
All of them have apart from Dollar.
Yeah. Last 20 minutes of this show, we're going to go back to the transfers, guys, because I'm interested to hear if we could get a defender, who would your first choice? I know we've mentioned Williams a few times, but who would be your ideal defender to come in right now in the situation we're in? We'll start with John.
I've definitely played for a back. I would say for me, well, Lascelles is going to come in anyway. I would say for me, Fernandes and Clark. I love Shaw. I do love Shaw, but Fernandes and Clark for me.
What about new signings, John? Who, if you had any chance of a defender, is there any out there you think would come?
Definitely, I'll take Williams. Definitely.
Yeah.
Take Williams.
Cool. Pete, what do you think?
Oh, it's a really tough one. I know I mentioned Williams, but it's a really tough one, particularly at the centre back. Who's that one up here? We could be linked with one from Chelsea, a centre back. Tomori, is it?
Tomori, yeah. I've heard a few whispers about him. So nobody interested in Jones from Man United?
No chance.
You know what it is, guys?
Actually, I tell you,
I'd have Tom Jones and Bill Jones. You know.
I'll tell you someone who I would actually go for. I know obviously what happened now because we're after loans, but maybe in the summer, Tarkowski from Burnley, who West Ham have been in for. I'll go for me.
I like him. He's tough.
The thing is, with him, go on, John.
I like him. I really do like him. This guy just loves defending. He's got a
he does.
He's got a defensive head, right? His positional sense is fantastic. He doesn't go and rash. He reads the game, and I tell you what, he's just cool under pressure. That guy. We're all a defender. Him.
Yeah.
I want a defender like Kieran Clark who puts his body on the line and actually does it for the shirt, not just like stand there and let the balls go past him.
Yeah. Right, James. What about you? Anybody you would love to see come in the defence?
Are you on about loans or are you on about just in general?
I think, well, as we stand at the minute, who would come in out of the players who would possibly come in? Who would you have? I know we've said Williams a few times, but is there any defender you can think of that maybe nobody else has mentioned that possibly would come?
I don't think so, to be honest. I think that Tomori's probably the only one I've been hearing about. Especially with loans, it's difficult, isn't it, to get what you want. I just think if we don't get Tomori in, I think it's as you were. As long as we don't, get rid of the likes of Shaw, who we can maybe keep on at least the summer. I know he wants away, doesn't he? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to have to be Kieran Clark and potentially Fernandes against Arsenal. But then you could mix it around, couldn't you? But then, like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if nobody comes through the door and then we'll just get rid of who we need to on loan, like Aaron's, for example.
There's a lot of dead wood in the club that still needs to be shipped out. You've got Lazar, you've got Aaron's. You know,
but he said. But the thing is, Paul, he said it himself. Like he said, I wouldn't be surprised if nobody came through the door, and it was just to get rid of players in order to try and trim the squad down.
Yeah. What about midfield?
You know what it is? You've got about 13 players out of contract at the end of the season. About 5 of them should have whacked through the door anyway. But what they've done, they decided to stop with us, right? They said, I'm chilling because I can rest on 40, 50 grand a week. No one else is going to pay that sort of money. Do you know what I mean? They're just quite happy sitting on their wages, right? 40, 50 grand a week. The amount, like Lazar, he's on quite a bit of money a week. And it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So we wasted 6 million a season, right? Just paying the players and not kicking about for us.
I know. It's that
ridiculous. Man.
I mean, that happened with Sunderland as well, to be fair, didn't it? They had so many players on the books. I don't know whether they still have, but they had to get so much dead wood out the club. And we start to slip into a situation like that where we're just letting players see the contracts out. I've got a feeling there's going to be a lot of pre-contract agreements with other clubs in January for the ones that are out of contract. I mean, Shah, for example, there was glimpses of the old Shah yesterday, you know, pinging 50, 60-yard passes and defending for his life, and then 2 minutes later he'll give the ball away. You know, there's just his head's not in it 100% for me with Newcastle at the minute. But if we change to midfielders, is there anybody you'd like to see come in, Pete?
Again, that's a really tough one. Have we been linked with any centre midfielders? That's a tough one.
We've been linked with 2. We've been linked with 2, and I'll take them both. Just I wouldn't even say like put them in my side, but maybe just as backup, like Chong and Chowdhury. I'd literally just get them on loan, give them a chance. You've got to give players a chance, I think.
What about, this is going to sound a bit strange because he's out in the wilderness at the minute. Would you take a gamble on Jack Wilshere?
Yes. The experience there, yes.
It's 2 points for me. Wouldn't take him. Yeah. Listen, it was fantastic for us on the steer. When he plays on the pitch, the guy is absolutely a worldie on his steer. But there's too many injuries for this guy, and his record's not very good. Sorry.
See, I think the situation that Wilshere's in at the minute, he might take a pay-as-you-play agreement. And if we could get a player like him on that basis, that if he was injured, he didn't get paid, we could get him for the rest of the season.
Paulie's at Bournemouth.
Oh, is he still there?
He's currently training with Bournemouth at the minute.
He's training with them, right.
But I think you will probably sign a loan deal maybe till the end of the season. If that was to be for Bournemouth, I think it would probably work for them. However, with the players I've mentioned, Chowdhury, Chong, and potentially Wilshere, do you know what? It's a loan deal. Like, what's going to hurt would bring them on loan. Do you know what I mean? If it doesn't work out, you can just say bye-bye.
I think I'd rather have Chong and Chowdhury. Like, I think he's more of a.
Chong is fantastic. Player. Honestly, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant.
But Chowdhury's too much of a discipline problem for me. I think he's let. There's rumours from Leicester that he's a bit of a, big head, let it all go to his head and stuff like that. Plus, he can't tackle to save his goddamn life, which we've already seen. As Newcastle.
I tell you what, that Chong and Chowdhury, I think they've all got that Maro and Fellaini hairstyle as well.
They have crazy in it.
We need someone like that at our side, don't we, just to try and get forward.
Exactly. It gives them an extra 3 foot in the air advantage. You know what I mean? But hell, who knows? Right, strikers. I know a lot of Newcastle fans would love to see a new striker come in because, as we've already said earlier on, Andy Carroll. For me, yes, he scored yesterday, but he's done. Dwight Gill, for me, yes, he scored a few goals, but he's mainly suited to the Championship. We need somebody in alongside Wilson or as backup for Wilson, but who would come in as backup? Peter?
I would like to say, I know it was mentioned, Origi. I'm surprised why he doesn't get a lot more chances at Liverpool. Origi, I would love to see. I think he could bag goals in. Definitely. And I know you mentioned the one from the FPL.
Sam Cosgrove.
Yeah.
Right, well. Yeah, Sam Cosgrove I'll bring in because, like you say, he's a young lad. I think whether he get in the squad, I don't know, but he'd definitely be a squad rotation player. You need a striker that could do a like-for-like job. Do you know what I mean? You want a younger striker. For me, like I say, Andy Carroll, he's just, local lad in that. Yes, he scored yesterday, but it's not enough. Do you know what I mean? It's Dwight Gill. Yes, he scored against West Brom. Everyone was saying, give him a new contract. He doesn't do enough. Joe Linton, 40 million quid. Yes, he didn't set the price tag. Doesn't do enough.
Whoever did set the price tag needs a severe.
They need sacked.
immediately because there's so many rumors going around on social media about the Joe Linton deal and people getting backhanders and left, right, and centre to get that kind of money for him. I don't know who the hell would value him at 40 million. I mean,
why do you think Rafa left?
Exactly. We all know that was one of the main things because that was on the cards for him to come in, and Rafa didn't want him. And I don't know. I mean, I watched a lot of Bundesliga games over the last few years, to be fair. I like watching it. And when we signed Joe Linton, I thought, decent, but 40 million quid. I mean, he didn't really stand out in the Bundesliga either. He wasn't prolific. And he wasn't...
Didn't he only get 7 goals or something like that in one season? That's bad. That's really bad.
His assists aren't really good either. You know, everybody's saying, he should play on the left-hand side like a Timo Werner kind of position. But
even he's struggling now, though. He was one of the deadliest strikers on the planet last season. Now he's just struggling.
Exactly. It's mental. But I would say definitely Origi or Cosgrove for me.
Cosgrove would be. You know what? People won't have heard of Sam Cosgrove because he plays in the SPFL. However, it's getting better in there now. You know, if you watch it, if you look at the standard, it's getting there. You know, Rangers started competing. Aberdeen, you know, that they're getting there as well. I just think, you know, you mentioned like bringing young, hungry players. You've got to take a chance on him. Also, he's only going to cost a couple of million quid. So what you're losing out on, it's better than 40 million. If he doesn't work out, then you think, well, okay, we'll give you a chance. Doesn't work, but I think with Joe Linton, I don't see where there's a place on our side for him. And if a new manager comes in, do you think Joe Linton's going to get a chance? I don't think he is. I don't.
But half the problem is with Joe Linton, it's like us playing with 10 men at times. Because he just goes, he gets lost. And I'm sick to death of people saying, well, you know, he works hard. And you can work hard. I could go on the pitch for 90 minutes and run around. But am I going to provide anything?
Well, Paul, actually, no. You say that when we play 5 at the back, we play 5 at the back. We're down to 10 men anyway because we're pretty much defend all of them.
Exactly.
And also, go back to Joe Linton, right? I've tried to defend her. Like, I really tried my best to defend them, but it's just coming to the stage now where I just can't do it anymore because the fact is, 3 goals in 54 league games, right? In 18 months is absolutely ridiculous. And then people having a go at us on Twitter. Right,
I know. It's mental, man.
Steve Bruce, he's getting there. He's getting there. What a load of bull. He's not getting there.
The thing is, he's had 18 months now, right? He's not going to get there. Yes,
no, he's not.
Certain players in the past have come into the Premier League and struggled in the first season. You look at like way back, Perez at Arsenal, Lundberg. Perez was dreadful at Arsenal in his first season. Thierry Henry was rubbish.
Actually, talking to Perez, would you look to? There was rumours of him as well. Ayose from Leicester, who were just sold there.
Yeah, I'm talking about Robert Perez for Arsenal.
Robert Perez,
when he first came over. But yes, that's a good shout, James, because a lot of people have said bringing him back might be a good idea. But would he come back is the question. I think he would.
In the summer, possibly. I think but the thing is, Leicester would want the 30 million quid.
You want the money back for him without a shadow of a doubt.
But the thing is, would Ashley do it though? That we would. I think we would accept him back. Of course we would. But would Mike Ashley do it? Probably not.
Jason's just put there James Tavernier from Rangers.
Oh, fantastic
kid for us. What a player he is, by the way. If anybody watches him, he can take free kicks, corners. He bombs up and down the line. He's a fantastic defender. He's just an all-round class player. I would have him.
He scored a fantastic one at the start of the season, though, Paul, about a few months back. Oh, man, what a goal. What a free kick.
I watch a lot of the Scottish games as well, and I think he's just the commitment he shows, and he's the kind of leader we need in that team right now, because I've said on numerous occasions on my videos, we don't have any leadership in the team at all. And, you know, yes, Fernandez is captain sometimes. You know, he's not very vocal. Shelby's certainly not very vocal.
I'll give it Hayden, me. I think Hayden's the only one that, for me, that graphs.
Yep, without a shadow of a doubt.
This is the thing. We need leaders in the team. We got no one who's actually talking. Where we can see the goal, right? There's no one talking to each other, just saying, how are lads? We got to get back in this. I'm not seeing none of that. You're talking about Hayden, right? He's the only one that talks.
Hayden will give you 110%. Honestly, he does. The lad does every game.
Even when he said, and he came out in public and said he needed to go back down south for family reasons, did he ever once not give 100% on that pitch? No.
He was fantastic.
His commitment was incredible, and I think that's where
he plays for the badge.
Exactly. Exactly. Bring Lejeune back. There's a defender we have in need. I think we were stupid to let go of him. I really do. I mean, I've seen him in the Spanish league, and he just looks class.
Question is, Paul, does he want to come back though? The way things have been going this season, probably not.
Nah, he won't want to come back. I think, yes, he was riddled with injuries. That Harry Kane tackle just finished him off for a good while. But you look at him, how composed he is on a football. He's a tremendous player. And I just think, again, we're too quick to get rid of these players like him, Adam Armstrong, Ivan Toney. We're too quick to just bin them off.
Yeah, it's been the problem since Mike Ashley's been here. Unfortunately, they've come back to Homer.
Exactly. Let's have a look. Geordie's put Dele Alli. I know we have actually been linked to him with a possible rate to get him on loan. I hate the guy. I hate the kid with a passion, right? But I'd have him in the team because he's one of them players that you just know would win you something. You know, whether it be a penalty, a free kick just outside the box, he'd get on somebody's nerves and get them sent off. He's a proper little irritating git.
Isn't he going to PSG? I've heard he's going to Poch.
That's what he's rumoured to go for. Now Poch is there, yeah. I think that's exactly where he'll end up. He'll end up at PSG.
I think he'll go there personally.
Well, you get off at PSG to work under Poch, or do you go to Newcastle to work under Steve Bruce? However, you know, it's not difficult, is it really?
No,
I just think I think, like you say, with Lejeune, they're not going to want to come back yet. Honestly, no one's going to want to come here in this current stage.
Nah, not a chance. Not a chance. We had the hair man in Colo. Yeah, exactly. He could have, you know, can you imagine having them two in midfield and Colo in the back with hair like that? Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
That was crazy. Geordie there with Divock Origi on loan until the end of the season. I think he's a popular opinion for a lot of supporters, to be honest. Pete, would you have him?
Oh yes, I said I would have Origi. I would give him a chance massively. I think the lad can score.
Do you think he'd be happy to come and play as a sort of backup to Wilson, or would you expect to get? I know he's back up at the minute at Liverpool. Well, he's out of it really now. They've signed Jota. Origi's not getting a shot. But do you think he would come and play under Callum Wilson? James?
He possibly could.
Yeah.
Divock Origi, I think he'd want a definite start on the side.
Yeah, I think if he goes anywhere, he'd want to start. John, what do you think about Celtic's Eduardo?
I tell you what, he'd not be a bad shout. Him, he scores.
I
think this guy, he's got everything. He's complete strike out there. You know, he's got the touch, he's got the skill. His first touch is fantastic. He's got pace. Scores some cracking goals, and the finishing from this guy, right? He doesn't just blast them; he just lifts over the keeper. He plays in the corner. The guy's just class. I'd take more day long.
Yeah.
Oh, you should have seen his goal the other week that he scored. Oh, it was fantastic, honestly.
Oh, delicious, wasn't it? Delicious.
He just lifted it beyond the keeper, like as if the keeper wasn't even there.
Nah,
so you guys reckon he would do it in the Premier League?
But
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, Morelos. I've always been crying for Morelos. I know he's got a bit of a disciplinary problem, but you want someone who's going to fight for you, battle, win the ball, and get on the pitch.
He's a proper little twat, him though, isn't he?
He is, though. But we call it for grafters, or you want someone a bit like a Joey Barton type player who's just going to get the ball and get it by the scruff of the neck, get the game, boom, straight up, play.
Paul says there. What about the academy? Is there nobody there? Young Alan, I don't think Steve Bruce would give youngsters a shot. I think that was proved with Watts last season. He had an opportunity to play in the last few games of the season. He kept him on the bench, and he sent him out to Plymouth this season. I don't think Steve Bruce has any interest in bringing youngsters through.
Isn't that Anderson also on the bench as well? He's been on the bench a few times. So
yeah, he's never been on the pitch. I just think because we've got 9 subs now, he's got to bring in some of the youngsters with what's going on. But he's not bringing any youth on the pitch. I don't think he has the faith in them, and he's frightened that the youngsters might actually want to score goals.
I think we're just screwed. Honestly, Paul, I think we're screwed with Steve Bruce regardless, whatever way he goes.
Yeah. Sickly Cloud saying Richarlison. I don't think he would come. I think Everton
wouldn't want him anyway for me.
That's doing okay.
Worse than Yossolu's last season in Germany.
The problem is with Richarlison, I honestly think he's just a little bit overrated. I think when I watch him play, he's poor at times as well for Everton. He's rarely seen.
Yeah, I think Richarlison would have been gutted to see James come in the summer at Everton because, Richarlison's been the main man kind of thing without being the main man, if you like. And I think he'd have been gutted, absolutely gutted to see James come in. Geordie says the likes of Van Dijk came from the SPL, so there's certainly talent in that league.
Well, Paul, I watch it. I watch it's program called Sports Scene. I watch it on Monday night. I was on during the weekend, but I watch the Scottish games, as you mentioned, and that's how I know about the talent, because I know that there's definitely good players coming through that league, and they could definitely do a job in the Premier League. Honestly,
I think the batch of Scottish players is certainly improving from what I've seen. I do watch
Robertson?
Scottish football as well. There's Tierney, Robertson. There's a lot of Scottish kids, but the problem is it's got such a bad rap the last few seasons. I think that the Scottish League, the teams don't look there very often anymore.
But that's what I'm saying. That's where clubs at Newcastle could score. We could win on these. If we pick them up. I mean, look what Hull did. When they got Robertson, look at the money that they made off Liverpool. Look what he's done at Liverpool. He's made them into a better side. Tierney scored a very good goal the other day for Arsenal. So there is batches of talent. You've just got to give them a chance. It's like anywhere. You've got to give them a chance.
Very true.
Don't do what Newcastle do and give him a 5-6 year contract.
Hi, well that's what we do with any new signings. Though.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a minute. Take a shot. There you go. Sign that 6-year contract. You're set for life.
But look at ASM. He got that contract. I mean, it's a 1-year contract extension with money. He's not been the same since.
Exactly, and that really pisses me off.
$2,000 a week, isn't he?
Yeah.
No.
But this thing with ASM all started just after he signed his new contract. That's why I think something very fishy's going on with him. I don't think it's anything to do with
honestly, I think he's probably looked at other players thinking, you know what, I'm getting bigged up here. I've got a lot of pace. I've got a lot of outers. I could do it in a top 6 club. I could do it in one of the biggest clubs in Europe. That's competing in it. He's probably looked at Newcastle thinking, they could get Europa League and Champions League. But he knows that we haven't got the owner to do it. So he's probably thinking, you know what, I could get a move out,
just a few more minutes, lads, and then I'll let you go. Sokratis from Arsenal, Peter.
Don't think he's the player now. I mean, he's been frozen completely out of the Arsenal side. First season at Arsenal, I thought he was decent. Now I think he was making errors, too many errors. No, so that's a player I don't think I would have now.
There's one there from Jason Ozil.
Too much money. Sorry, $300K a week. We'll call him paid $10,000 a week. Never mind that.
You could imagine Arsenal saying, right, we'll go 50-50, and they're still not going to pay.
Well, sarcastically, we can't pay 30-40 grand a week, but we don't like. Ashley doesn't like to spend money.
We could, but we wouldn't. Basically,
no, doesn't like wages. Doesn't like paying wages.
Lawrence says, I rate Watson. We have good centre backs already. Maybe in 1 or 2 years' time, we'll be seeing him in the first team. You're right, Lawrence. Definitely 100%. I would say Watson's got a lot of talent. I've seen him a lot for the under-23s. I like going to watch them, and I think you can see players coming on, getting better, and I think personally going to Plymouth is a good thing for him. Plymouth are a good side, and he's getting a lot of game time. So, who's this next guy popping up here? Kenneth says,
anybody want to pronounce that? From yes, Greek. I think he's a Greek guy from Benfica. I think he's getting on. Nothing. Argentinian. Sorry, yes, I think he's getting on. For me, I think he's not who I'd want.
He was good.
All right, let's see if there's anything else comes up. Great show, Paul, lads. How are the lads? Cheers, Paul. Lewis Gibson from Everton, says Lee Taylor.
Well, we sold to Everton in the first place, didn't we?
Yeah. I think, but the problem is, if you look at our past, we sell young kids off, right, for next to nought, and look how they improve under decent youth systems and decent managers and coaches. You can look back through the years of Newcastle letting players go, and then you see them in 2 or 3 years' time in other teams' first teams, either smashing in the goals, defending well, midfield creativity. We let Barrisley go in the summer. Now, for me, he's a talent and all, and we let him go to Rotherham.
Well, this is it. Like they're well structured at these clubs. I mean, you look at Newcastle's training facilities. I mean, they're next to zero. They want to go elsewhere and prove that they can't do it. At a decent level, and these sort of managers believe in them. It's just the thing is under Mike Ashley, it's not about the club. It's about the business of Mike Ashley. It's what he wants. So if there's money to be made, as you mentioned at the start of the show, he'll do it. Whether they're a youngster or whether we brought them in for cheap, so I'll sell them on for more, isn't it?
Definitely. Final one. Jack Wilshere and Hesse are all available. Now, is that the Hesse that played for Stoke? Because if it is, I'm not so sure with me, Kenneth. I'm not sure his heart would be in it.
No. Is he not on about Jesse Lingard? I'm sure he's in the frozen Man United as well. He's not about Jesse Lingard.
Yeah, he possibly is. I think Hesse might be about 55-year-old now. To be
I was going to say, we don't need him. Actually, he probably. Do you know what? He can't be any worse than what we've got. So bring him in.
Well, exactly. It's all about improving the team. Shearer back for one. Les Ferdinand. Get them all
back.
Paul,
is this a regular show?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I want to try and do this on a weekly basis if you guys are up for it.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
100%.
I mean, we've had quite a few people come on tonight, so there seems to be people enjoying it. I want to try and maybe make it once a week show, and then we can discuss like the previous week's stuff at Newcastle and what's going on in the Premier League and stuff. So if you're up for it, I'd love that, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, just drop us a message on Twitter, whatever. Yeah.
Right, spot on. Last one, Lyndon Gooch.
No, no chance.
Kobe, I know we put this before. Darnell Furlong, I forgot to mention that comment as well. So yeah, Darnell Furlong he's a decent player.
Who's he play for?
I believe it's Watford, isn't it?
I've know the name. The name
West Brom. Is it not West Brom?
Furlong. Yes. Yeah. Take one of the. Do you know what it is? We're just accepting players for the sake of it because that's our bud.
I tell you who I do like at West Brom, Gallagher, the young kid Gallagher.
He's Chelsea on loan.
Yes,
is he?
He's on loan. He's not actually West Brom's player. He's Chelsea's.
That's typical of our look, really, isn't it? Shearer back as striker coach to mainly teach Joey where the goal is. I don't think even Shearer could teach him, to be honest.
I just think, honestly, I think Joe Linton, like Carroll, like Gale, I think they're all finished. Honestly, they're finished. Finished.
Right. That's it for tonight. Thank you, lads, for joining us. I will put everybody's YouTube channel in the description after the show. Thank you to everybody for watching. If you do hit the subscription button, that'll mean the world to us, and like the video as well. But these guys will all be back with me next week, probably again. If we say Monday nights, that would be spot on. If you can do Monday nights,
that's fine.
Yeah,
we'll keep updated on Twitter anyway. But thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Stay safe. Take care.
Be strong.
Yeah. So.